Is Blizzard greed going to ruin Whizbang's workshop as well as future Hearthstone expansions? Because there is a lot of controversy coming out from the most recent announcement of the Whizbang's workshop, and it is all because of one mana card. Corridor Sleeper has created this pay-to-win argument that is already all over Twitter, Reddit, and even Twitch. Like, as soon as I went live, I literally had people coming into my chat being like, I am super upset that this right here is happening. And let me just explain what's going on in case there's people that are unfamiliar. If you get the $80 mega bundle from Whizbang's workshop, you get 10 golden card packs, 80 packs in general, one random legendary signature card, one random golden legendary card, a hero skin, which really I haven't seen anybody really talk about. But the big thing is that you get 2 of these corridor sleeper early access epic cards, which means right now, if you pay the $80 in order to get the mega bundle, you get all of this stuff right now, but you also get to get the corridor sleeper to where you can put it in a deck immediately. And as of right now, I don't really know how powerful this card is. I've seen some people bring up the idea that, ooh, in Rainbow DK, this would be really good in Rainbow DK because on turn 1, you can play the sleeper, turn 2, you can play mining casualties, and then turn 3, you can play crop rotation, and this card's already awoken. So it's like, there's some actual potential for corridor sleeper to be a pretty decent card, but only in very specific decks. I don't really feel like this is going to be a card you're just going to throw into every deck because it is just that good. I really do believe that corridor sleeper is probably like a 2, maybe a 3 at the very most, because in decks like Rainbow DK, it does tend to fill a hole because Rainbow DK does not have a lot of good 1-drops. But then on the other side, if you don't play this by turn 1 and you happen to like top deck it by like turn 8 when you really need a good card to come back from the game, corridor sleeper doesn't do that. Like, I really do believe that this card is not that good, in all honesty. However, that has not stopped people from talking about how Hearthstone is pay to win, and it's more so about the principle of the matter, and I have a joke about this very quickly. But yeah, giving this early access uncraftable card for pre-orders is a bad move Hearthstone hasn't done before. We'll get into this here in a second. If it is OP, every competitive player will be forced to buy the pre-order, unable to see the full expansion first. This card should be craftable with dust now or unavailable. So there are some people that think this might be a competitive disadvantage to those people that don't play this card, and very simply put, it's one of those things to where if it is meta relevant, then as a, you know, someone trying to go for the top legend ladder, like me for example, trying to go for worlds, then I have to pay the $80 because if this card is that busted, I gotta be playing it now in order to get the free wins over the people that don't have it, right? Like, that seems to be the situation that a lot of people are uneasy with, to where Tice and Zeddy also have tweets talking about how they do not enjoy this. Tice says, I hope this doesn't become standard, a card that is only available if you buy the pre-order $50, $80 bundle and an uncraftable card. Luckily, this one sucks, but in the future, it could be a good card instead. Hope this is just a one-time thing. A lot of people seem to be agreeing. 400 likes on the Tice tweet. Okay, yeah, there we go. 340 for the no hands tweet, and then for the Zeddy tweet, about 400 likes. Well, Hearthstone is actually pay to win now. I don't agree with this, but we'll talk about this here in a second. Pre-order and get access to cards early. I do not like this. And a lot of people seem to share this sentiment. Even if the card is bad, there's no excuse for it. And I have a little joke, if you guys know Bob's Burgers, where this is pretty much people's
don't you
reasoning.
Think maybe you should just let this go? You know how you get. You start saying it's the principle
of it,
over and
Lynn.
over.
The principle.
Yep, there it is.
All about the principle.
How'd you know I was going to say that? I've never said that.
Right. Yeah, right.
It's the principle of the thing, sir. It's the principle. Principle. Oh, well, it is the principle, and someone's got to stand up for what's right.
Someone's got to stand up for what's right, and I 100% agree with them in some aspects. But the one thing that I really do believe we have to understand about Corridor Sleeper is that it's really not going to be that good of a card. So this is going to be me defending it, and then the rest of the video after I defend it is going to be me, you know, pros and cons. Right now, we're going to go over the pros of why we want this card to be an early access card. Like, it's just another perk for Blizzard to sell the Mega Bundle. Like, that's really what this is. But the one thing that Blizzard has to keep in mind is that if this card actually was meta relevant, then it would do some serious damage. But before we talk about the damage, why would they even want to do this in the first place? Well, aside from wanting to sell more mega bundles, people can see cards in action to get them hyped for the expansion. And honestly, I don't mind this idea of trying to add cards into, like, for example, where we are now with the competitive ladder, is that we are in the last month of a year, and this is like the most frustrating time to play ladder right now. So anything that can maybe shake things up even a little bit, I actually fully welcome, because Sludge Warlock, Control Warrior, all of these, you know, all those 2 decks are completely plaguing the ladder right now, and it's just not really a fun experience to be playing Hearthstone. And I understand why they're trying to do this in order to shake things up, so that way Hearthstone is at least interesting until we get to the new expansion, because we still got a couple of weeks to go before we start to enjoy these new cards. But the biggest thing of all is that if this card's not meta impactful at all, what is the harm of letting people play with the card a little bit early? In fact, there was someone, I believe, on the Zeddy tweet that made a comment. Am I the only one thinking that this doesn't matter at all? It's not going to force people to buy the bundle, or am I missing out on something? They just have to wait a little bit longer. And honestly, Simi does have a little bit of a point here, to where if the card's not meta relevant, it's not forcing people to make people buy the bundle, and people aren't missing out, because once the set is actually released, then everybody gets to play with the card. So there's not really a lot of harm in people playing with this card, unless it is meta relevant and meta broken. And that goes into the cons of doing this idea, to where if Blizzard has one time where this card is absolutely like a meta relevant card, like a Prince Renathal, for example, if you were to put like a ridiculously good legendary card in this spot, then it would impact the meta, and it would maybe force some people to buy the pre-bundle before they even know if they want it or not. I mean, if you're someone like me, if you're a content creator or someone that just loves playing Hearthstone in general, you're always going to be buying the mega bundle, because the idea of getting 80 cards plus a whole bunch of other stuff for $80, that is by far the best value you can get for your Hearthstone buck if you plan on making purchases. Every other purchase in the game is like, what, like 50 packs for $60 or something like that. Like, it's not exactly, you know, one pack for one card. This is by far the best deal that you can get if you are going to buy Hearthstone packs. So I don't necessarily think that this is a bad idea in some instances where, you know, people are going to be buying this anyway. It's not like you're going to be gaslighting people into getting it. But if this card is meta relevant, then people may not even be buying this because of the value. They will simply be buying this because of this card. So Blizzard, if you're going to keep doing this in the future, you have to guarantee, you have to make sure that without a shadow of a doubt, that whatever card is going to be in here, it is not going to be a meta warping card to where people are going to be at an inherent disadvantage for not having it in their deck. And that is going to be essentially the point of this video, is that I don't want things to go back to a Curse of Noxramas state, to where people have to buy money in order to get some of these very important cards. So case in point, if you guys are not familiar with the Curse of Noxramas solo adventures mode, this was like one of the very first solo adventures that was ever added into the game, and there were cards that were locked behind this. And the thing that really sucked is that you either had to buy it with money or you had to buy it with gold. So therefore you had to invest time, you had to invest resources, or you just had to grind it out. And unfortunately, it did create a little bit of this situation, to where if you didn't have cards like Lotheb, if you didn't have cards like Kel'Thuzad, if you didn't have cards like Deathlord, or wherever Mad Scientist is, here we go, Mad Scientist and Zombie Chow, like in Shade of Noxramas, like these were all cards that were very meta relevant during their time in Hearthstone when they first came out. And unfortunately, they were locked behind these bosses, and if you didn't have these bosses, you were just at an inherent disadvantage. I do not want to go back to that, but I do not believe that one card for 1 month before an expansion is on the same level as this Curse of Noxramas situation, to where look at how many cards are here. There's 4 here, 4 here, 4 here, about 5 or 6 here, and then another 3 here. So that's a pretty decent amount of cards to be locked behind a paywall, which I can understand why people immediately are thinking of this whenever they see this, because it is a paywall to some degree. Some people just don't have the money to ever make a purchase in Hearthstone, and this will make them feel a little bit worse. But again, if this card is not meta relevant, if it's just another flavor that you can add into your deck to make it a little bit more fun, I don't think that this pre-order is necessarily a problem. But again, if this happens one time, Blizzard, if this happens one time to where this card is meta relevant that you're allowing early access to, then it will cause problems. People will become mad, and people will be claiming that Hearthstone is pay to win, because you are paying for an inherent advantage. So I think I did a pretty good job at explaining my personal opinion opinion on this matter. Again, if you guys didn't catch it, I believe that this practice is not necessarily a problem itself. It all comes down to the card that is being playable. And as long as Blizzard is careful, as long as Blizzard, you know, looks ahead to the future and really makes sure that the card that they're putting for early access is not going to be a meta warping card, then I don't mind this practice. But all it takes is one mistake in order for this practice to be extremely bad for the game, and I can completely understand everybody else's sentiments around this sort of idea not being wanted in the game. And even like I literally just took a look at 3 creators. I haven't even taken a look at anybody else's tweets on this regard, because this is a very new controversy, and I'm honestly getting ahead of it making this video already. So what do you guys think? Do you think that Blizzard should never do this idea with early access cards, no matter how weak they are? Do you think that this isn't that big of a deal and people might be getting a little bit overreactive and just, you know, oh, typical Blizzard greed, Blizzard's just trying to make as much money as possible? And it is a business at the end of the day. They are trying to make as much money as physically possible, but I don't believe that this is going to ruin Hearthstone like everybody says that it does. But regardless, I'd love to hear your guys' opinion. Thank you so much for making it to the end of this video. If you want more rants and more kind of this impromptu content, feel free to let me know in the comments. And yeah, I just don't think this is that big of a deal, but the moment that the card is meta warping and insanely powerful, then Blizzard, we're gonna have a problem in the future. But hopefully Blizzard will learn from its mistakes in the past. I know, funny joke, but I hope I was able to give you guys a little bit of perspective on both sides of the argument, because I do believe that on both sides, people are correct and incorrect, but at the end of the day, it all just comes down to how powerful the card is that Blizzard puts up for early access. So thank you so much for making it to the end of this video, and we'll see you for the next one.